Que pasa, mi familia? Big Will here, coming to you from Coronado, Panama. So why are we in Panama? That's because been looking at a Blaxit or Exodus based on the current climate in the United States. So wanted to make a fact-finding trip to see what a shithole country looks like up close. Gotta tell you, we were pleasantly surprised. Not that we believe all of the Matrix hype coming out of the United States anyway, but even with our tempered expectations, we were highly surprised. So let me start with travel. How to travel to Panama at this point in time. So Panama takes COVID much more seriously than the U.S. They have been asking travelers since October 12th of 2020 when they opened their borders. They actually closed their borders for months and had real lockdowns. People could not leave. People couldn't move around. People couldn't go to the beaches. All the beaches were closed. They took it very seriously. And of course, they have lower COVID cases than my home state of Maryland. So they've done a really, really good job there. But as of October 12th, 2020, they require a negative COVID test within 48 hours of arrival. So for us, that meant arriving at 6:22 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday. Our COVID tests had to be done after 6:22 a.m. the previous Monday. So we got that done. Getting a rapid COVID test was a little bit harder than I imagined it would be in the United States. We made appointments with CVS. We filled out all the information on the website about the fact that we were traveling and requested a rapid antigen test so that we could board the flight, and they accepted our appointment. And when we showed up, right before the young lady handed us the test kit, I just asked a clarifying question. Hey, this is for the rapid antigen test, right? Oh, no. This is the one that you have to mail in and wait 3 or 4 days. We don't do the rapid test. And then it's like, well, on your website, you clearly indicate that you do the rapid test. And then when I told you I was traveling, you had follow-up questions telling me about CDC guidance. So I'm assuming you guys knew what was going on. Apparently, the CVS and some of the labs, we call Quest Labs and some other places, apparently the folks in Maryland are basically all saying you cannot get the rapid 20-minute, 30-minute test result test unless you are presenting with COVID symptoms. Even CVS told us they would do it if we were presenting, but for traveling, no, it's almost as if they didn't want us to leave. So we found a place in DC, Farragut North Medical Services. They did the test, no questions asked. We didn't have to be DC residents or anything. We just paid our money, got the test, and within 20 minutes we got emailed our results. It was a nice PDF. We printed that out and kept a copy on our phone. So we get to Dulles Airport. We are at the airport going through everything, and the airlines, we flew Copa Airlines, which is the national airline of Panama. Very nice, by the way. Nicer than anything I've flown United States domestically in years. Oh, sorry about kicking the table. But they immediately, as we stood in line for baggage to check our baggage, they started asking for our negative COVID test. So every person who got on that plane had to produce a negative COVID test to get on the plane. And then, of course, when we landed here in Panama, we were asked three times altogether, twice before we got to customs. So they're very serious about that. Keep in mind, Panama does have the ability to give you rapid testing at the airport here when you land, but as of March 31st, which is the day that we flew out, if you arrive in Panama and get tested here locally, even if you test negative, there is a 5-day mandatory quarantine for you. if you get tested in the US like we did, sail right on through, go on to your destination, be blessed. While we're discussing COVID, let's talk about how Panama handles COVID versus the United States. They handle it well here. I already talked a lot about the lockdowns. I didn't go into too much detail, but for instance, they had gender lockdowns. So they had days of the week designated when men could go out and do their grocery shopping, and then when women could go out and do their grocery shopping to control the flow of traffic at any given time. Plus, you had a 2-hour window to do everything. That was, oh my God, we were balling out in the United States. Can you imagine having to do everything you're doing in just 2 hours, and then the other 22 hours you're in the house? That's what they did here. So they also have temperature stations. So they're like these mobile towers. Temperature check, hand sanitizer, and foot disinfectant. So for your shoes, it's like a tray that you step into with little brushes, and it's filled with disinfectant, and you gotta rub your feet to disinfect your feet. So it's very feng shui, very feng shui. The temperature checks, either the back of your hand or your forehead, and there's a big green light, and if that big green light doesn't come on, you don't come in. And then there's hand sanitizer galore. There's hand sanitizer stations everywhere, by elevators, by doors. Keep in mind, Panama has a canal, and a lot of the world's products go through that canal. That means they don't have product shortages here. The way that we were coveting Lysol spray and having to come up with other options, like I know we made a big old jug of bleach and water solution and put some paper towels into it. Y'all have to forgive me. One of Panama's residents has come up to the table to say hello as a cat. They love cats and dogs here, no doubt about it. If you're a dog lover, this is the place for you. But going back to the shortages, there were no shortages here. So Lysol is plentiful, no knockoff brands, and all that good stuff. So these temperature check stations are everywhere. If you go into a restaurant, grocery store, gas station, doctor's office, whatever. If we're inside, you're going through one of those things, and they're very serious about that. So, and mask wearing, ubiquitous here. Almost 100% compliance. It's unreal. Even the kids wear masks. I'm so impressed. They wear masks everywhere. They wear masks as they're walking down the street outside by themselves. I mean, I go for walks. I do a 3-mile walk in my neighborhood back home every morning. Me and my wife are one of the few people wearing masks, even to this day. So here, these people are walking on a beach by themselves wearing their mask. So it's just not the same. COVID they're doing it really, really well here. I'm hearing from the folks that live here that they had maybe 12, 15 cases. I'm hearing those numbers in between of coronavirus the whole time. So the chances of them running into somebody that had it was just slim and none. But they still have to do the lockdowns, and they're still doing what they're supposed to do. Everybody sprays our hands with hand sanitizer. It's so cool when you go into a restaurant, and the restaurants are open air. So the restaurants are mostly open air. So it's, at least here in Coronado, beach community, we did spend a little time in Panama City, and we ate at outdoor cafes and all that. So we did see some indoor seating like back home, but not much. Most of it, it's 80 degrees here every day, so you can do outdoor seating year round. But you walk up to the table, or walk in, and the first thing they do is do the temperature, and then you got the hand sanitizer station. But then the hostess will come up and spray your hands as well. So it's really good. We feel very, very, very safe here as far as COVID. We're actually a little concerned because we go home in 2 days, and we know it's going to be head on a swivel time. All right. Something that we read a lot about was the heat. Panama is 5 or 6 degrees off the equator, and we are in what's called rainy season. There's 2 seasons here: dry season, rainy season. And rainy season means rain. So we're in rainy season right now. I'm right in the middle of it. Can you tell? Anyway, it does, the heat and humidity is definitely present in Panama City. No doubt about it. It seems to be gray most of the time. We've been there, I mean, we've only been there 2 days, so take this with a grain of salt, but we can see it from here. And it seems to like have a gray cloud over it. So, but here in Coronado, I'm learning that number one, it's not as hot as people thought, or we thought it was watching other people's videos. It's a nice breeze here. The high has been like 82, 83, 84, 85, nothing beyond that. And there's a nice breeze. The humidity is not as bad here as it is in Panama City. Now, we explored up and down the coast, but not too much. We got as far as Panama City on one side, and then on the other end, we went down past Playa Blanca and Rio Alto. So that's about maybe a 200-kilometer. Look at me talking in kilometers. About 150-mile stretch of highway that we went. And then we went into the interior a little bit, maybe 20, 30 miles. So that's the extent of our exploration, but it's definitely hotter closer to Panama City. So pleasantly surprised that it's just not baking hot like we thought it was going to be. We hear a lot of people want to go to a city in the mountains called Paquete, because in Panama you apparently can dial up your temperature according to altitude. So if you're in a mountain location, of course it's going to be about 10, 15 degrees cooler on average than over here at the beach. And we were concerned that we were going to be stuck in the mountains, but this is great. If you've been in DC in the summertime, this is fabulous because it's not as humid as it is, and it never hits 100. Never. They told me the highest temperature that they've had is 91. That's amazing. Next topic, critters. We read a lot. We heard a lot about critters. I joked with some of my friends. I know one of my boy asked me, I'm afraid of spiders, no doubt about it. Arachnophobia. I still haven't seen the movie. I refuse to watch the movie. Not gonna do it. But they have scorpions here, right? So he's like, what you gonna do if you move down there and they got scorpions? So we're going to deal with it. I haven't seen any critters. And as a matter of fact, I haven't really even seen that many bugs. That's amazing. I know they have them. I mean, I'm not itching, but scratching right now. I've been in the DR a few times. The mosquitoes there are outrageous. Nothing like that here. Nothing. I have not sprayed it once all week. So, I asked my wife, do you feel comfortable? Have you seen any critters? Not one critter, no iguanas, no geckos. We know they're here. We just don't see them. And neither do the folks that live in the building around us. They don't see all that kind of exotic stuff, but they have it here. You go in the rainforest. We're going to watch our steps in some other places, but not here in Coronado. So, hablo español. I only speak a little bit of poca, and it's horrible. I'm like, so, true story. We're in a restaurant. Let me start out with it. We've survived well. We've been grocery shopping. We've been to restaurants. I am broadcasting this on a brand new phone because my phone cracked and then got wet and is now a brick. So I was able to buy a phone. And let me do a quick aside on that. They have completely different models of almost everything here. Same manufacturer, so I'm still using the Samsung Galaxy, but it's a model you never heard of, because I never heard of it. I'm a techie. But I will say this. I had a Note 8. This A71 model that I bought here, when I went to the cell phone store, I was fully ready to shell out $800 to a G to buy a phone. You know how it is in America. This phone was $300. It's called a Samsung Galaxy A71. It has more memory, more RAM. It has the brand new camera features on the back that the S21, I think the S21 is what they're selling back home. It's comparable to that, but it's a third of the cost. So I am now talking to you on a better phone Ooh, I keep kicking the table. I'm talking to you on a better phone than I flew here with. Same thing with cars. I see a lot of Mitsubishis, Suzukis, Hyundais, Kias, Ford. Not a lot of Ford, but you see some of them. But they have different models than we have back home. For instance, Volkswagen has a pickup truck. Who knew? I keep seeing Toyota Land Cruiser Prado, and I'm like, is there designer vehicles? But just like Samsung makes a different phone at a different price point to sell here, that's what they're doing with the car. So I'm learning a lot about how business is done and marketing is done on a global basis by being here. They're selling us stuff because they think Americans can afford it and we're paying more for it. I mean, I had a $1,100 Note 8 and now I'm on a $300 A71 and it's better. As a matter of fact, I fly a drone. I use an app to do this now. See how it's following me? It's sitting on a pedestal, and there's an app that controls that. The app for my drones, everything has more features in that native app, not the phone itself. The app from DJI or Pivo, who's making the Pivo pod that's powering this video. I have more functionality with them on this phone than I did on a Note 8. So it's crazy to me how that works out. So on the vehicles, if you're coming from the U.S. and you want to bring your car, some people do it. The issue is going to be running into parts. Apparently, the model cars here are all South American. So who knew that North and South America, GM makes different parts based on where the car is. But that's what's happening. These auto manufacturers are getting over. They don't want you to leave the U.S. with your car. They want you to go someplace else and buy another car. Or pay an arm and a leg to get your car fixed because you're going to have to ship parts from God knows where. So that's going to be interesting. But the language. So, speaking a little bit of Spanish, I've been able to get through. We were at a restaurant. Oh, I'm doing my same thing at home. No script here. I'm just starting a story and forgetting to finish it up. So, we're in a restaurant, and my wife needs to use the restroom. And I know a little bit of Spanish to say that, donde es el baño, right? But apparently, the way that I'm seeing it, it sounded like I was telling the young lady that it's her birthday. And luckily, there was a guy at the bar, an expat that we met, who overheard the whole thing, and he's laughing. The young lady's just shaking her head at me, and I'm like, donde es el baño? I'm typical American thinking that, let me say it louder because you don't understand what I'm saying. And he's like, dude, you trying to tell us her birthday, and she's telling you it's not her birthday, and it's just all a cluster. So we had a big laugh about that. But you can get by without learning the language. Of course, if you're going to move here, it would be nice to learn the language. I think that's proper. So, if we decide to make that decision, we'll definitely learn more Spanish than I know now. And I just realized the cat actually laid down beside me. Oh my God, this has been following me. I love it. These cats, I think he's looking for food. But anyway, El Gato. I'm gonna learn some more Spanish so that I can talk to the folks. Plus, so much of the world speaks Spanish. Why not speak it? The people are very patient. It's not like the United States. They're not rushing. They don't have agendas. It's a culture of respect here, so they're very helpful. They're very patient with you. I've had to pull out my phone and open up Google Translate, and they'll sit there and wait for you to say what you have to say, and they know how to use Google Translate too, so they'll hit the button and say what they need to say to you. So it's great. We're gonna learn the Spanish. We're gonna learn the language stuff. Money is easy because they use US dollar. So everything's in US dollars, no adding up. We use the same bank card here. Everybody has credit card machines. Back home it's the squares. Here it's the it's a miniature version of the credit card machine, but it spits out a paper receipt and everything. And I mean, everybody has that. And they have another cool feature. So the folks I've been seeing, the Panamanians have credit cards. They have chips too, but their chips have the tap pay ability on it. So people are just touching their credit card to the screen and boop. Me, I'm handing my card. They're like, putting it in and waiting for the chip. So, if you have Google Pay or Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, it's the same exact thing, except it's a chip embedded in a credit card. So you can use Google Pay or Apple Pay on your phone here or on your watch. Where we are is in a residential area, so we wanted to make sure if we were going to survey a country to not do the usual thing where Americans will go to an all-inclusive resort and have people wait on you hand and foot. We chose a residential area in a nice area. I mean, when I say nice, I mean expats, and there's a lot of really nice residences here. Some of them are private. There's some huge high-rise condominium buildings, golf resort. But we wanted to see how people live, and we've seen how people live. So it's great. Folks here just getting along with each other. It's a beautiful thing. Chit-chatting with folks who have been here for years. People have talked about racial bias. It's definitely not what you see at home. I feel more comfortable, so I feel invisible to the police here. They don't look at me. It's as if I'm invisible. At home, they take notice. Here, I'm not what they're looking for, so it is what it is. We feel really good about that. And as far as communities and networking, we have met a good 6 or 7 expats from the U.S. People from Philly, DC. There's a few people from DC that live in this building, as a matter of fact. Philly, DC, Atlanta, Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Virgin Islands, New York. So we actually have met more people in this building and have their information and have been talking to them and like going out for drinks than we know in our neighborhood back home. It's crazy, but that's the culture here. People are friendly. They, as soon as they recognize us, they know that we're not residents and that we're not from here. So people have been really friendly and engaging with us, helping us, giving us tips, letting us know what to do, what not to do. For instance, today I learned the tides here move from high tide to low tide. It's about maybe 50 yards that the water line moves, maybe longer than that. And when the tide is low, they have stingers, maybe jellyfish or something. But anyway, the guy told me to have to walk in the water like this in baby steps when the tide is low, because you disturb the sand and the stuff that will sting you will just move out the way without you being stung. So that was a good tip. And now I'm giving it to you. So that's about it for this one. I think I've run my mouth quite a lot enough at this point. So if you have any questions, comments, put them below. And as always, please like and/or subscribe. Okay, and I will see you soon. Hasta mañana. Hasta luego. Adios.